The Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, Beatrice Elachi, is here. Happy New Year, Mheshimiwa.
Happy New Year. How are you?
All right. Doing all right.
Good.
Yes. Yourself?
I'm good.
Good.
I thank God.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Thank you for joining us in the room this morning.
Thank you.
First of all, even before we get into things, because we know there are things to get into, Mheshimiwa. All right. So, Mheshimiwa, you know how we welcome you, isn't it?
Yeah.
CT will tell you what today's proverb is. And let's see if you can link it to, anything that could be happening, how you would interpret that today.
We are in the Republic of Rwanda.
Okay.
Country of 1,000 hills. Maybe even 2,000.
It's possible.
Today's proverb is actually fairly simple and straightforward and not difficult to interpret. Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret.
Pregnancy and fire cannot be kept secret.
Pregnancy and fire. I can put it now in our own context, that as much as we do all these things we do, for example, even governments, the way we say, government says we will do this, we will do this. At that time it's pregnant, and then the fire comes when you decide nothing has been done, and you've been saying, and you can't hide it because at one point it will come. The same way, that's the negative part of it. The same way, as much as you want, they will do, and there are a few things you can see. So it depends on how you look at both. But I think it resonates very well. It's like a young student who tells the mother, I'm going to school every day, but the day of exam will come. And that day now, when the fire comes, you realize you never used to go to school even. You find yourself wondering, now what happened to this child? So it's the same.
It's the same thing. Okay, well, then we could start asking questions and say, different things. There have been different points around which you've been very clear and very vocal on some things as concerns governance in the country. Most recently, and we can just jump right into it, most recently, you said that, everybody seems to be complaining, more or less. Everybody seems to be complaining about everything. And if you find that, look, this is not working for you, then you can leave.
Now, you see how you say it in English. So let me say it in the Insha of Kiswahili.
Okay.
The way I said it.
The way you said it.
Yes. So I just stood and I said, wewe kama unaona hii inchi ni mbaya, si unahama. Lakini kama unajua hauna inchi ingine, haswa wewe Mkenya mwenye unachukiwa Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, unajua hauna pa kuenda, hii ndio inchi yako, so ulinde inchi yako. That's all I said. So if it was a Swahili Insha, I think that Swahili Insha would have been very different. It would have meant, all I'm saying is be very careful, because you as a Kenyan, you have nowhere to go. So just take care of this country and let us not use... And why I said it, let me say it today, because I know many people didn't understand. I said this because, number one, many people went to the US Embassy, complained so much that they have been denied visas. But they did not know the reason why they were being denied visas. And the most sad part is when the children went to World Scholar. And my child was also there. So they went to World Scholar in Europe. When they arrived there, yes, they had their children. So they will do as we do at home. And they started saying, the president has to go when they are there. And these guys in Europe wondered, you came here, that's the creativity you brought here? And it was a very sad thing, because at that time, some young Turkish student started fighting with them, telling them, you can't come here and do this. And after that, anyone who is a student who wanted to go to Canada or US, it was just like a verbal, quiet. They were all denied visas. Even the ones who were going for World Scholar in the US, all of them were denied visas. Very few were given visas.
Tell us a little bit about this World Scholar. What is it?
The World Scholar is where kids just, you compete. And so the best ones, are able to now go, you go debate, you go write, you go, speech writing, be creative. Some do science, some do arts, just like that. But it is under the Yale University in New York.
Mm-hmm.
But then, even without that, sitting down now with everyone from the different embassies, they were very worried with our students. They were very worried. They were saying, how sure are we? You see, like in Canada, when you're going, they give you're supposed to go and work also to take care of yourself. So before you leave in Kenya, they will give you the residing card. They will give you, that opens up your doors. But they're wondering, you who is very aggressive here, how are you going to appreciate, as much as they have freedom of their own, that we normally assume are much higher than ours? But those are some of the things. Now let us come to East Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So we go down and we meet Mama Slow. And he says, wajua nyinyi wa Kenya sasa mahali mmefikia. Jamani, hata kuandika mtoto wa miaka 38 kurudi chini Kenya, tunaogopa kwa ajili ya tabia hii yenu. So are we helping Kenya? We are not, because an innocent parent who doesn't bother so much about the things we do here just walks to an embassy, and at that time it's $300. It just goes like that. And because of implications of other people who even maybe they are not even caring to go anywhere. They are just, so there is need this year. And to make it so sad, McGill University, where I'm an alumni, they just removed 90% Kenyans. They took all the students of Ghana, and Kenyans were taken until you wonder, okay, what's the problem? But so, they tell you, when you go there, they give you so many reasons, and you're like, how do we change? How do we, use our media the right way, use your social, knowing very well, whatever you do on it, nowadays they also use it at the embassy to check you. Because they ask you, especially when you're there with your daughter or son, they tell you, no, ma'am, let her answer the questions, which is true. Mm-hmm. She needs to answer the question. She was there, do you have a social media? Yes. Yeah, are you on Facebook? Mm-hmm. But you don't know, in the end, all those things she has asked, she's gonna check. So what you're saying essentially is that you don't know what you've done there and how it would affect your chances of getting the visa. If we can now take that and put it on the national scale, I'm hearing you say that the expression of Kenyans, let's look at it over the last 6 months, that the expression from Kenyans in terms of what they've been saying and how they've been saying it, we're not even talking about whether there's merit in what we're saying. We're just saying that what they've been saying and how they've been saying it essentially is hurting the country at an external level rather than helping it. Is this what you're saying? Yes, and you see, it depends how we express. So let me say this. So if you express, like now we are talking about gender-based violence. So if you're a young man who likes just using very interesting insults of body language, of what, if you go and somebody looks at it, wouldn't you think you are part of, you're a perpetrator of gender-based violence? Because they don't know. You see, the problem is our young people don't know that you when you start calling me some very interesting, not just me, anyone, so you're angry, so you say this, you say this, you say this. But someone is wondering, if you're at that level, there are two things. Can you do it physically? The African part, we won't care. Mm-hmm. But the Muzungu part is like, is he okay? He will even say you have a mental problem, and maybe you don't have, but she or he there will think you are a perpetrator of gender-based violence. Actually, this is how you'll be abusing your wife, your girlfriend, your what?
In fact, even as simple to understand it, in the West, a simple comment that many African men like. Yeah. You're referring to a woman, and in your conversation, that lady whom we're with, you remember that MP or that CEO, very beautiful woman. You already marked as being sexist. Why are you focusing on her looks? Why?
Yeah.
Why aren't you focusing on her ability or on what brought her there? Believe me, to acquire a tag is easy. Very, very easy. Because, as you say correctly, most of us on this continent don't understand how the rest of the world views, especially the Western world, what we think is normal.
Okay, so when we're talking about these tags and we're saying, because it's clear that we've seen certain things. I mean, I think the most recent is when we saw that there were petitions to the royal Dutch in the Kingdom of the Netherlands to say don't come to Kenya. There have been things like emails and letters to the IMF. There have been letters to the American administration. I mean,
even letters. To all nearly 7 or 9 presidents saying that Baba should not be AUC chair.
Okay, so many of those things have been happening. And if we put that in context with what you said, I mean, it was very clear, Mheshimiwa, that you said, they're critics of the Ruto administration. And you said, he's our father. He's the one who's leading the country. So we should accord him the respect. Kenyans are asking, how does this play against what they feel are genuine concerns about what is really happening in the country? Do you respect at the expense of things that people are asking for, accountability, good governance, etc., etc.? Where do you draw the line?
Well, I draw the line on this way. I will critique William, even me myself, and tell him what is wrong. Absolutely, this is wrong. And at the same time, I don't need to go in the abuse to him. No, I just need to tell him, look, this policy you've just brought, it doesn't make any sense. It's not moving the country. In fact, what it is that you are not also understanding that I think all of us we forgot to understand that there were consequences we were going to go through of post-COVID election. Post-COVID. And these consequences needed to have been understood right from the top. That indeed there is no way you can tell Kenyans to just get into all the things we will want to achieve, but at the same time forget they closed for 2 years, and not just Kenya. I mean, the whole world closed for 2 years. And so there was a need of affirmative action. And I remember when we were really pleading at that time, we said, let's ensure, yes, we put in these things, but give us 2 years. So put it in the law, yes, but allow it to mature. After 2 years is when we start now, because we will have seen how people have grown back their businesses, especially the small entrepreneurs, the medium entrepreneurs, and all that. Now, when they refused that, that's okay. But then now, going forward, for me, you see, last year, we talked about William until we forgot even we have families to talk about for ourselves. And I'm like, this year again we start. Apana. I need to talk for something else. I need to think. But he's the president, yes. So I need to talk to him when I'm looking at what solution can we get for now these challenges that we are having. That's the most important thing. Because even if we talk all this, we finished 1 year. He has not given us a solution. We have started. To remove him is good. But you must have a plan. You can't tell me we'll remove him through here. No, we must sit down, organize ourselves. In fact, if we are talking and asking the president right now, where is IEBC? And asking the courts, why have you decided to put it also in the courts? It's just hanging there. Why can't you release it so that we know he's the problem?
But questions are being asked, Mheshimiwa, and this is the thing.
No,
questions are being asked. Kenyans are asking.
He will wake up and tell us that IEBC, I finished, it is in court. That's what he'll tell us. And that's what they're saying. So we want to plead with the courts also that, look, this case that was in Kiambu, I don't know where, can it just be removed so that we see and we start this IEBC, we start this matter of new registration so that we know now we are headed to remove William.
Now, Mheshimiwa, you mentioned something earlier in terms of we need to protect our country. And the citizenry, according to the constitution, are sovereign. And all they are doing is telling the government that is there, that this is our country and we will protect it by putting you in check. Pretty much, that's what
I
they're saying.
thank God has brought Trump. So this is our country, and we must put it in check.
And while at it, we have seen a lot that has happened, and Kenyans feel as though the institution that you serve in, the National Assembly, has reduced itself to just being a rubber stamp of what the executive wants, and that is why Kenyans are speaking.
Okay, Dennis. So 25th of June. In fact, I'm not supposed to be in Spice. I'm supposed to be in a grave somewhere, isn't it? But I voted no. But if it was a bomb, I would have gone to the grave, isn't it? So I'm wondering, do I just work for Dagoretti North? I think that's what I'm doing nowadays. Work for Dagoretti North, because they voted for me and told me these are the things we need. And I'm doing my best to ensure those things are done. Done in the right way. My children must have schools. My children must have year 9, which they have. That's what I'm doing. Because I realized I became a realism and left the liberalism, because I asked myself, so we fight for all these things, but we don't even understand. And even the things we are doing, nobody will tell you, oh, this you did, yes, it was wrong, it was this. That's the challenge we're also facing. So even the ones who were supporting, on that day they awakened themselves. And they asked, okay, what is best? Isn't it just going there and start, the way we say, start small, and if you're able to change that place and change it better,
the better. We are a fairly respectful lot.
I know.
Kenyans are respectful. Our children, if we brought them up well, are also respectful.
Oh, yeah, very.
So what is it that makes our children go abroad and say things and do things, even the ones who are here, write letters, do this? Clearly they are angry.
Yes.
What are they angry about? Why are they expressing themselves in a way that some people say is abusive? And why are they doing this persistently? There is a reason. Because prior to this, we didn't hear all these things in such...
True.
It wasn't this loud. It was there, but it wasn't loud. Why did it become loud? First of all, let's start with those of us who are their parents. Where did we drop the ball? Because clearly, the amount of anger that is expressed in everything that we're saying has to have a genesis.
Yes.
Have we taken the time to address that genesis and say, this anger emanated from this, and why don't we look for ways of addressing it? Because if we don't address it, that anger will go nowhere.
And
if anything, it'll increase.
And the answers that we've heard, unfortunately, to those expressions have not been, all right, can we see where we can solve the problem? The answers to that expression, essentially, have been, you have a disobedient lot. You have poor behavior from this lot of people who are complaining. We will deal with them in one way or another without looking at the issue. And so now when any kind of answer to that sentiment comes out and says these are bad behaved people, and we're not looking at the issue that they're actually raising, because it's true. Some of the things that we talk about, isn't it true? Isn't it true that taxes are high?
No,
isn't it true that there's a problem with the health system? Isn't it true that children who are going to school have a hard time? You know this because I know very well that in your constituency, for example, you're fighting tooth and nail every day to make sure that children are in school. You know this. Is there not an issue when people go to immigration and they can't get their passport, something that's a right, that you should have identification for your country? Isn't it true that these are issues? Isn't it true that there's mismanagement of funds? Isn't it true that there's corruption? Isn't it true that there's a threat to insecurity when people are abducted? These are true. They are not things that people have conjured up in their minds. So when Kenyans open their minds, their mouths to express, and the answer that you get is you're abusing the president, you're disrespecting the president, we'll deal with you. The issues have not been addressed. How do we deal with that?
So let's say, for example, let's just go back to where we started ourselves, because we grew up in the in the era of Moi, and we had many other issues. But then, having said that, as City says, we just need to ask ourselves, as parents also, where did we drop the ball? Because I'll tell you, it is also very sad. Even when you go to school and you find children, I feel I get frustrated sometimes, because you as a parent, fine, you have come, you have decided the child is here, fine. And I tell you, so why can't we meet at the center so that we help this child? And I've always told parents, there is no way you can tell me a child will come and appreciate if you don't even buy a pen. That you want to have, what the child must see something, a blessing from this parent, something that he gives and shows her, or that indeed you're going to school and I'm part of you, and I'm there for you. But I know because of the challenges we are facing, I'm also not blaming parents, but it's a sacrifice. But I'll tell you, if you walk into some of the schools, you will feel sad also on what parents have done to children. And maybe because of that growing up and that environment, this child has too much anger. And when you sit down with them, they'll tell you very interesting stories, which you just ask, so how do you solve in society? How do you deal with this? We no longer have, our days we were better. You will come, you will go somewhere, there will be some activity for you to do. Like give an example of Nairobi. So children, even the field itself is not there for playing this football. It's not there where he can ventilate or mix with others. So the playing ground went. Everything went that, and for us, we had an opportunity because we had somewhere you'd go, run, play, and maybe it was part of your therapy of how to deal with yourself. But children, I'll give you, for example, Nairobi, they have no place for therapy. In fact, the schools that we have is where now the communities believe children can come and play there. Now, if you find a teacher who is not understanding that, it becomes very difficult, but they have no choice in Dagoretti. No, they have to understand we have no field. This is a field. The only thing we will take care of is to ensure that they don't damage the school or anything. But trust me, it's not as as we think, because right now we have young students who have just finished school, and they came. 5 of them came when I was just giving forms for bursary. First of all, 2 of them came. Those ones were 2 years. They had gone to their polytechnic, their Tibet. They decided to defer. And so they come and tell me, Mama Dago, I just want to go on a boda. I said, why? He said, no, I deferred because now of school fees. I said, now you are deferring. What did you get? I got a B-. I said, no, there's no boda you're coming on. We are going back to school today. So you see, if you don't have also someone who can try and realign, everyone is thinking, every young person believes the boda is better because I'll go and start doing some work. But he forgets there will be a consequences of the years to come on the same boda.
But because when they look into the future, what do they see? See, this is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
their future, for them, they don't think future.
Even if they thought, Mheshimiwa, what would they see? Because if you have siblings who even went to university, 5 years down the line, there is nothing for them to do.
Yeah.
They can't. And so they've gotten to that very sector, boda. They even have a kiosk with their degree. Some have the means, go and acquire a postgraduate degree.
Yeah.
They're still back where they were. Now, this younger sibling who's watching, and how are you going to convince this person to even go to university? They'll tell you, this thing.
No, by the way, you just sit with them, City. I always tell them, I'm not saying don't do a boda. I told them, you'll do a boda part-time, but you're still going to finish.
You see what you mean?
And at that time, because I told them there will be a time everyone will have a boda. There will be a time that everyone will feel, my means of transport, I would rather have a boda. So when we have those bodas, who will you carry? You will carry yourself. And so, yes, you can have the boda seat, but there must, I always tell someone, just finish, have that certificate. Because it's a TVET, it is different.
I'm not understating the efforts you make, because somebody has to make some effort.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do something, and the people are doing something. I'm talking about a larger problem. And the larger problem has to do with policies that are beyond you as a representative of the people of Dagoretti. You see? Now that falls squarely on Parliament as a body and the executive. See? Because if we haven't realized that our education system guarantees the problems that you are now dealing with at the level of your constituencies, and that if we don't tweak it and ensure that students understand that this education system that we are being given, like this CBC, if it were implemented in totality, this problem you're talking about
would go.
Yes. But will it be implemented in totality?
I think that the Kenyans that have been, essentially lambasted, for lack of a better word, over the last couple of months for complaining, actually want a better Kenya.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
All of us.
They want it to be better. They want governance to be better. They don't want to be disappeared. They don't want corruption to eat away at the very fiber of society. And I think that's where the complaint is coming from, that they desire a better Kenya. And so how to get there, I think, is, what are we going to do?
It's an individual person.
Okay, well.
Each of us.
I guess so. Dagoretti North, a member of Parliament, Beatrice Elachi, is our guest this hour, and we're looking at, all right, I mean, yes, she did make some statements and said, look, we all have to work to make it better. And we're looking at, the expressions. We're taking some of these issues into consideration and saying, okay, yeah, I mean, just that question that CT asked just before is that, look, Kenyans who've been complaining, I mean, where did the protest start in June last year? It's because they said, look, we can't do this. It's too difficult. There needs to be a better intervention by the legislature. There needs to be a better intervention by the president, because this is what you promised Kenyans. So in the event that Kenyans start to complain and say, because we always say, hold your leaders accountable. What way do you do that? The world has given you a platform upon which to do that, which your leaders will read. Social media is there. Yeah. That's what you're using to say, look, it can't continue like this. But then when that happens, we know what happens. Kenyans are disappeared. They're abducted to be asked questions somewhere in a hole somewhere. Or they're being told again by the same leaders who are supposed to be representing them that, no, you cannot speak like this. That you can't speak like this. You shouldn't be disrespecting the president. How do Kenyans then keep leaders accountable for the things that they said they were going to do?
Well, they will speak to their leaders, and they will tell their leaders where they feel what is wrong, that is right. And the leaders must also bring in the solution. You see, when we were closing Parliament, I remember we had to just redo some of the tax bills just to caution now all these things that, and especially it goes to the salaried Kenyans. I think they're the ones who have carried the biggest burden, and they're still carrying because it's their salary that is being deducted. But at the same time, what government needs to do so that you cushion also is to bring in a better way of even collecting that revenue. It's for KRA now, and I'm hoping through Mureithi they can come up with a better way of appreciating the client, who is the Kenyan, who brings in the resources that now goes. But having said that, now we are all of us in an office somewhere, and especially in government. And I'm given an opportunity to be a procurement officer. And I'm a Kenyan. I can hear how Kenyans are saying. Why can't I just do the right thing in that office? Is another question. Because it doesn't just start. It's a process. All Kenyans who are in this process, is there a way they can just do it right? So that you make it right. You'd rather do it right and say, okay, I'm about to be sacked because I did it right here. And come out on social media and tell Kenyans, look, I've done a tender that is coming to this amount, and I am about to be sacked by the president or by whoever because they need money for this corruption. If every Kenyan comes out and just says that the right way, won't it work for Kenya? But because all of us are in the same culture, which we need all of us to come out, that's why we are finding ourselves in this challenge. And I'll say this, when I used Nairobi County when I was speaker, how come there are many things we tried changing, and some of them changed, some we couldn't, because they didn't want. And that's the day I realized it's not about, I can be given millions here. Do you know I'll do nothing? Just the same way we have members of parliament, you have CDF, but you'll still find, and you have been there for 20 years, you've been there 15 years, they are member of parliament, but your children are under a tree. So it is me The problem is me who's been given that privilege to serve at that time. And so every Kenyan must start thinking that way. Because I'll tell you for sure, if we do it ourselves, slowly by slowly, how come in Kiharu, something is happening that is not happening in any other place? But they say it's the same CTF. Yeah.
How should Kenyans address these issues? Because, we say in the right way. How should Kenyans address the issues when you see things
just
are
be
falling
bold
through
enough,
the roof?
be in an office and turn around.
But they're being asked to be polite and not insult the president and not be disrespectful.
Leave that one. Now, when the president is being insulted, his whole team is being insulted anyway. See, they are the ones who have the opportunity to serve, because he also will not be able to say, I will be in the Ministry of Agriculture and then turn in the Ministry of Education. No, there are guys there. And we are saying, for example, right now, the Ministry of Education. So we gave you a budget, we finished. What was this that you could not just give? And you knew very well, a procurement process in government stays like for 3 months. If you knew year 9, because in some areas they are still saying we've not received.
Yes.
What was just the problem to start earlier in July, August, do your procurement process. When children close in November, you are able to build the classrooms and finalize. And in January, you hand over. What was so difficult? That one, you ask the guy in the Ministry of Education, because he's the one who has brought us into the mess we have. It's not about the money. It's not about the what. Money was given. You have the highest budget than any other. That's just an example. Now, let me give you an example. I have different head teachers in schools in Dagoretti North. And I will tell you, each school, when you walk in, you will know, here is a head teacher focused for her school, would wish to see a good school, and she's doing it. And I'll give you an example of State House Primary. State House Primary, when I joined Dagoretti North, was under a different teacher. In 6 months, Dorothy comes in after we changed. And you walk in today, she's closer to Nairobi Primary. It is me. It is us Kenyans, especially those who are working in government at the level of a level that you can hold a policy read and you're able to use that policy to change. If we decide, we'll change. If we don't want to change, it will remain the way it is. It depends also, because I realize in government, it depends also with attitude. It depends on the key person who is the CS there. If also you don't have a way of appreciating those who are also working with you, and it is there. I realized when I went in at one point, I walked into offices and they told me, for the years we've been here, we've never seen somebody at this level working in this office. So how will you know even how your staff is? How will you know even whether they have desks or they are just in a junky place? It went down and it demoralizes how they want to work and all that. It's the same. We have interns coming in. They sit on a desk. If you are not there to assist them and tell them this is how, they will just sit on a desk the whole day.
This is the culture we have now, and we're discussing and we're looking at what it portends, but there's the question of how we got here. You see, the accountability factor and the trust factor go hand in hand.
Yeah.
The voter abrogated their rights. Before this constitution, we didn't have some of the rights we have now. But when we elected a leader as Kenyans, we left it to the leader to do the right thing. Many did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it isn't just the people we elected at the constituency level or at the ward level. No. Examples are usually set from the top. So you find that a culture develops over time.
Yes.
And because of the survival instincts we have as Kenyans, you don't want to be very different from other people, because then you stand out and it may cost you your job.
Your job.
Yes. So you comply. But if there is leadership that indicates to you that it is okay to do the right thing, then you do the right thing. And that applies to very many people who are in the civil service. We witnessed this during the Kibaki era. We saw it. Things that you never thought you could see, you saw.
Yeah.
Okay? People were actually doing what they are supposed to do. But here we are.
We just went back to 2002.
Actually, it's like went back to the previous century.
Yeah, where we started.
Yes, exactly. And then it's even worse. You see, this government inherits a lot of rot from the Uhuru government.
Yeah.
That Uhuru government had, we have a presidency now, not a president and an assistant, we have a presidency.
Mm-hmm.
This current president can't run away from what they did in the previous government. Because now it is on his shoulders.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, those things are daunting.
Yeah.
And the complaints that you're seeing, children have parents. They tend to be observers. They watch the pains the parents go through. They can see it. Mm-hmm. They watch the difficulties the parents go through. And at some point they realize, these parents are not hot at a boy. They can see. When people who ordinarily are respectful become insulting, as we're being told, you really have to ask the question, why are they being insulting?
Why have they taken it to that level?
Now?
Yeah.
Why have they taken it to that level?
Well, they are all our children.
Yes.
We have them in our house.
Yes.
They will tell you. And if they're able to, they tell you. They tell us.
Yes, they will tell you.
And this.
We have this problem, and this problem, and this problem.
Yes.
And when it is articulated, they are right.
No, they are right.
They are right.
Yes, and which brings us to the next spot, where it is the young people have spoken, pretty much the citizenry of this country, because we're talking about 70% of the population have spoken. They've said the way the country is going is not the right way, and we need you guys to fix it. We've tried to demonstrate. You've beat us on the roads. You've made us disappear. We will go to the social media. You will find us still there, but we will still talk. And when you talk about what social media is doing, have you seen how the young people talk to the President of the United States? In UK, it is the same story.
Yeah.
It is a question of talking to power and power reacting and doing the right thing. Mheshimiwa, people of Dagoretti will tell you each and every single day that when they are along Gitanga Road, there is a place called Congo that needs to be fixed. They will tell you in person.
Yes.
They will tell you on social media.
Is there a place called Pandora?
Oh, yes. They will tell you that they need these to be fixed.
And then I will go and tell the governor. And then because the other challenge is also, because of that anger, nobody knows, what does the governor do? What does Mheshimiwa do? Where are my roles?
Actually, that is the governor's job, not yours.
So now you find yourself, but sometimes you just have to take it. That's why I was saying it is me. So when I know Amboseli is not functioning, I'll be there, by the way. And I have tried. They know what I have done, but also I get angry with my same citizen. You do a whole Gitanga road, and just because of garbage, you decide to destroy the whole road again, and you just feel, honestly.
You see, Mheshimiwa.
So when we are down there, we know how we are moving. But when you come now to a function that this one, I now need to move at this level to push either the county to do it or this. It becomes another game board.
Mheshimiwa, do you think if people understood that when leaders are held to account, they will do what they're supposed to do, that they would become destructive? If they knew that this is what happens, they would actually approach the same county government and say, excuse me, this thing is not working. They would even do it on their own.
Yeah.
That is, if they knew action would be taken. Yes. But they know action will not be taken.
No, that one is true.
Yes.
They know. And especially, they get frustrated.
Yes.
So sometimes, even when you go there, you are also frustrated because you've just come to talk and there's no action you will do.
Yes.
But then also, the same citizens will tell you, let us just try our best, ourselves, what we can do. And as we normally do, garbage has become so much, they will tell you, we will now, Mama Dago, let us use our young people to put them on. There was a time we wanted to collect everything and bring it at City Hall. Then they called me, the county said, no, we are coming to carry. Now the governor has promised, yes, now they will have trucks and all that. So we are waiting.
Promising.
We are waiting.
Since they got to office.
We are waiting.
So are Kenyans
that the trucks will come and will collect garbage. Okay. The most important thing, and that's why I was saying, if you do a few things, I'll tell you in Dagoretti North, why I'm able to say I can walk. I don't need to drive in. I'll walk, say hi to my people, meet them on hamburgers and everything. It's because when I tell them, we shall do this, I will do it. And when I tell them, this we cannot do now because of 1, 2, 3, they know. And they will not push me. So what Kenyans are angry about is when you say today, you repeat the same thing. Tomorrow, you repeat the same thing the next day. Nothing is moving. That's where they are getting angry. But if all of us, even starting with the president, you will just say, I will do Nakuru Highway. Don't do anything else. Just do Nakuru Highway. People will start feeling, okay, fine. You said Nakuru Highway. We agreed. We have seen it. Now let's move to the next. It would have been better. But the challenge, even as politicians, all of us, you go and say so many things knowing very well. First of all, where is the resources?
So why do you do it actually?
So why
why do you do it?
Yeah.
Because I think it frustrates the situation just a little bit more. That folks already feel that they're in a depressed state and they're making, they're making the noise which is necessary to try and hold leadership accountable. So then how do you...
I like saying what I know I will do. So and I'll give you a time. I'll even tell them, don't ask me the time frame, but give me by this time. Trust me, we will have done and we will have finalized. And we have done that for the last 2 years. I think it has saved us a lot. Where we have said we can do, we have done.
Do you think Kenyans should sustain this? Because this is one way of trying to keep folks accountable. They keep saying, usually if you want a door to be open, you keep knocking on that door until the person on the other side opens it. All I was trying to say
that we need to now is don't go into the abusive that does not make sense. But a campaign that is sustainable on an issue, you do it. Everyone will appreciate that. But don't put yourself into a situation where the anger will take you to a different...
Where you will break the law.
Yeah, don't do that. Or where people will wonder, okay, are you okay? Is there something wrong with you? But to sustain... and tell the president every morning, you told us this and you have not done this. That is okay and it is needed because that is what now pushes every leader to know that you must work for the things you say.
Take an example of a campaign that was concluded with the inauguration of a new president in America. The question that you asked about promises. He made promises, didn't he?
Yes.
That is political currency. Politicians say things they're going to do, they make. Now, this particular president came in, did many things. We have focused on how many executive orders he signed, someone doing the others. The question is, when this particular president speaks, who do you think he's addressing?
He addresses those who believed in what he was saying.
Precisely. As a constituency, he is addressing.
Yeah.
If you look at his campaign, it was quite simple. He just scared the living daylights out of his would-be campaigners by talking about people of color.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
These Mexicans next door here.
Yeah.
These Hispanics and what we refer to as black people, who are actually brown, taking over.
Yeah.
Well, you see, it's really not complicated. Because if you look at the demographics, there are those who argue the majority of these so-called new immigrants tend to be Democrats.
Democrats, yeah.
So if they are that huge in number, what do you think happens when election time comes if they are citizens? So this is voter suppression in a very clever way.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yes. But he is focused on whom he is addressing.
Yes.
And the people who he knows will vote for him.
Exactly.
Now, here...
And he has signed all by the way, what he said, he has done exactly to what he told. And they celebrated.
He has kept his promise.
Yeah.
Now, you may have a debate over it. That's a different discussion altogether.
Exactly.
Now, you've actually got to my point. We have a situation where promises were made, and the question is that they are not being kept.
And
that is the bane.
Yes.
For me now.
And it is, these young people we're talking about, the promises were addressed to them.
To them.
They were the constituency. Okay? They were the constituents. They are the ones who are being addressed.
Yes.
They were the hustlers.
Yeah.
Yes. And as
in Western and Nyanza, I don't think we were in the hustlers. We were in another level.
And you see, right now,
for us, sometimes we look at it and we wonder, what are you telling us? I screamed at bombers. Scream also. If you go in a political contest, that's what they will be telling you. And that's why sometimes you find us wondering, We told you, we said we will get into all this madness. You felt we were not saying right. It's the same way in America. They will have good and bad on the consequences they made. And so it's the same. And that's why you find when I'm an ODM member, when you're telling me, I'm wondering, the way I screamed up, down, and you told me Baba is not fit, Baba is old, and all that. Now you want me again to scream and start telling you agreed when we told you he will not do, you said he will. So how do you want us? So that is in a political. But now when I look at my country, I get out of that political, it is done. Now it's how do we ensure the president delivers? It's critical. Yes. And that is why sometimes people will say, oh, but people don't know 2 years for us who have been inside there. We've looked at a few things. You know, right now, when everyone is angry and saying all the things they're saying, Murima, we look at them and we wonder, when we walked into this parliament, if we were to go on war, it would have started in parliament. Because we were looked at very bad people. We were treated in a manner until we wondered, where did we go wrong?
Right.
This is politics. We are finished. And we told them, I remember sitting down having tea with a few of my friends, ladies, who are in Kenya Kwanza, and I told them, in 2 years, the president is going to change this cabinet. He will now refocus because he will realize he has finished playing politics. The country has to move. And they thought it was a joke.
Okay.
And so, and it's because the way you take that excitement when you take over government, the same way America has now, there are some things that definitely in 2 years you'll see.
I have to ask you this question even as our time goes down, because Kenyans are wondering, still on that statement, we're going to end it with the first thing that we started with, that you say if you're not ready to build the country, then and if there's another option for you to take that, essentially leave. Are you still of that thought?
Well, no, I said in Kiswahili. You see, in Swahili, it means it
means something else in another language?
It means, in Swahili, ni fumbo umeanza nayo, na kuifumbua, ukawaambia hamna nchi ingine. You know, it was a very, the way I did it, it's in my Swahili, which I got, by the way, a good in it.
Okay.
Kiswahili chenyewe. Kwa hivyo, kwa Kiswahili ukiisema, itakuwa tofauti sana kwa Kiingereza. Tofauti sana.
Okay.
Maana yake, and then, also, let me be very honest. If you say something, before even you bash or you say, why would you just take the first line? Why can't you give also the whole statement?
Give it
how
context.
I say it?
Okay.
Yeah. At the school we went and the school he taught us is context is very important. What was the whole meaning? And that was because I was in church. By the way,
yes,
the
you were in
good thing,
church.
you know, you've now started. You've realized I never ran away on something I said. I carry it as my responsibility. Kwa Kiswahili nikifumbua ni jambo tofauti sana.
Dagoretti North Member of Parliament Beatrice Elachi has been our guest this hour, just looking at very many things. Thank you for always being here when you are. Asante sana. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.